This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
For a man obsessed with moving armies, Major General Nathanael Greene preferred traveling light. Perhaps after 2.5 challenging years as the Continental Army's Quartermaster General, its head corporate officer in charge of transportation, supply, camps, and the movement of troops, it was the psychological freedom of unfettered movement he craved. As a young man, Greene frequently escaped the rigid order of his devout Quaker household with solitary idles, either to nearby bookstores or traveling the nighttime roads near his family homestead of Potawatomi, Rhode Island, to a local frolic under the nose of his strict but loving father. This trip south, finally free from the administrative burdens and political intrigues of the Quartermaster General's office, may have felt much the same. Greene's destination was the Southern Army, his new command, a ragtag collection of mostly Maryland and Delaware Continental soldiers joined by an ever-changing assortment of Southern militia. This was the remnants of an army sent south in the spring of 1780 to help defend Charleston, but arrived too late, then suffered under the inept leadership of General Horatio Gates at the Battle of Camden on August 16, 1780. Departing Philadelphia on November 3, 1780, Greene's destination was Hillsborough, North Carolina, where his motley crew had retreated after Camden. Greene traveled on horseback with only his fellow Major General, Baron Friedrich von Steuben, and 2 aides. At key moments during the race to the Dan, we find Nathanael Greene alone or in limited company, an unusual situation for a man who was arguably the most strategically important American in the South. But after 6 years as a general in the perennially overmatched Continental Army, a period during which Greene and his fellow Continental officers often felt as if they were fighting their own government and public as much as they were the British Army, Greene clearly craved solitude, taking it when available, no matter the circumstance. For this journey, the solitude was more than literal. For the first time in the war, he would be commanding independent of his patron and mentor, George Washington. The 2 men had enjoyed a symbiotic relationship, conferring or corresponding closely on almost every major decision during the American Revolution, their accord so complete, many accused Greene of having an undue influence on Washington. Undue or not, the relationship was undeniably close. Their parting must have been an emotional one, even for the taciturn Washington. After leaving Washington's headquarters at Totowa, New Jersey, on his journey south, Greene and Washington would not see each other for 3 years. Never again would they live or think so closely. Without either his mentor's counsel or protection, Greene's military career was headed toward uncharted waters. On its way to North Carolina, the tiny group stopped in the capitals of Annapolis, Maryland, and Richmond, Virginia, where Greene implored the colonial governments there for troops and desperately needed supplies. Any officials he, meaning Greene, could not meet, he wrote to, often after riding horseback all day, note the editors of his papers. Of his meetings in Richmond with Governor Thomas Jefferson, Greene complained by letter to Washington. Matters here are in the greatest state of confusion imaginable, and the business of government almost at a standstill for want of money and public credit. Our prospects with respect to supplies are very discouraging. These meetings reflect the stark economic realities facing not only Greene in the fall of 1780, but the entire Continental Army. With the Army's formation in 1775, the Continental Congress had attempted to take responsibility for its provision and recruitments, financed mostly through debt. This effort had always been a mixed success, and as the war progressed, the debt ballooned, leading to debilitating inflation. In response, Congress called on the individual states to shoulder an ever-increasing share of the military burden.